You know what really grinds my gears? You ever fucking do a little bit of Family Guy, a little bit of Peter Griffin. You know what really grinds my gears, dude?
Alright, so hopefully this works. Can you talk to me from here?
Hello? Sure we can.
Can we?
I feel like I'm pretty far from you guys.
Yeah, I could project my voice.
Just start?
I'm classically trained in
Just start
theatrics.
Started filming, I think.
Alright, cool.
Gang shit.
Alright.
Camera 1, camera 2.
Camera 1, camera 2?
Camera 2.
Okay.
Audio?
Okay.
Don't tell them where the cameras are.
Oh, they know.
We gotta keep it
They
like
know. Our viewers are smart, dude. Our
mysterious.
our 6 or 7 viewers are intelligent.
Our 6 and 7 viewers are intelligent?
Yeah, it's like, oh.
I think if we post this on Lazy Ghost, people will actually do it. But coming up with a name, that's pretty hard.
I liked this locker room talk.
Yeah, but we're not in a locker room.
Yeah, but it's a Trump. It's a Trump thing.
Locker room talk.
Yeah, I mean it doesn't have to be. Lazy
How about the non-binary podcast? Because like if I always say there's 2 types of podcasts. There's the binary podcast and the non-binary podcast.
Actually,
but considering this is not really a podcast, we're actually filming it.
they film podcasts. What the fuck?
Oh, they do.
Joe Rogan podcast. Motherfucking most podcasts are filmed these days. Production value. It's an important part of the whole.
Way to go! Drop Joe Rogan in the first fucking
He's
podcast.
my boy, dude. I'm 300 episodes in. I love the motherfucker. I'll suck his dick. I won't. I'm just saying.
I'm tempted,
No,
but
well, like out of everyone that's running the show, he has the most varied, most specialized, and most interesting guests and conversations. Without being too much of a dick rider, can we just acknowledge? Beautiful. He's a master of the crafts.
Well, there's nothing wrong with dick riding.
I mean, for me, there might be. I don't know if I could manage it. I got a colonoscopy once, and that's just fucking sick.
Did you really?
Yeah.
All right. So first topic.
Colonoscopy.
First, Dimitri getting sick in Greece and spending a week in the hospital with tubes in his ass. Yeah,
The Lazy Ghost non-binary
medical experiments. Lane.
Locker Room Talk podcast.
That's a very long name. I did get a colonoscopy once.
Oh, we colonoscopy boys. I forgot that shit. We got so much in common, dude. Holy.
But it feels like getting fucking fucked by RoboCop's cousin.
It's so weird once the meds kind of wear off because you have a bit of a drug tolerance and you don't tell nobody about it because the doctor doesn't know that. And then it's like, we're going to give you so many, this is good for a person of your average weight and height. You're like, seems fucking good. Then you're a little bit into the procedure, you're like, I feel everything now.
Moved up a little bit.
Hey, they get, but once it's up there, you don't, you're numbed
What is
out.
this thing that they're putting up?
A tube.
A tube?
Yeah.
It's a camera.
A camera.
Oh, okay.
You could. I have
You
the
have
video.
the footage?
Yeah.
Oh, you do?
I don't have it personally. My dog. When we came back to Canada, because like I said, this happened in Greece. He sent it over in case you have any issues, whatever. We give this to your healthcare professional, whatever bullshit. Either it's a disc. We did the down the throat, which was more uncomfortable because when I got a little bit more conscious off of that, you're actually just choking and fucking.
So wait, what was the reason for this?
I was in Greece on a vacation, and we went to a party island with me and a couple of the boys. Some other friends that had gone on a vacation with their families. We all met up. We got on a boat thing, whatever. We went to an island. And as you guys may or may not know, Greece economically right now isn't in its best kind of fucking state. Even without that being the case, some people are kind of jerk-offs. They will cut corners to get the most bang for their buck. Basically, the situation is, if you don't do your fucking homework, which I did not, on the party island, they were mixing the liquor with bullshit, rubbing alcohol, stupidities. Like, it ain't good. So there was some mix of alcohol poisoning. Something was I got a little
Mercury poisoning.
Yeah, no, but there was something with the food. I might have gotten a little bit sick from the food. Something with the alcohol, something with whatever. Anyways, I ended up throwing up for a couple of days. I was bedridden. I was done. There was a whole chunk of a couple of days of the trip that I was pretty rattled. Felt like shit. Didn't think much of it. I felt like I got kind of sick. It's fine. Towards the last couple of days, I man up because like I'm not here much longer. I'm gonna continue partying. Continued partying. Just kind of tanked it. Didn't do anything. Didn't do anything too wild, but wild enough. I'm talking nights ending in the morning, and just you put the shit on the back burner and you make it through. We finished the trip. I end up back home I was at my grandparents' place at that point. I'm colorblind, which is icing on the fucking cake, so I can't really tell differences in certain shades and whatever. Turns out, one day I take a shit black. Like, I know what shit should look like, and I know what black shit looks like. That was hospital bullshit, whatever. I was in an ambulance, this whole fucking shebang. One day I was pale, almost fainted, whatever. Ended up hospital stuff. The rest of the story, because there was much more of it, because this was a whole week's affair, is pretty nasty. But point is, apparently, what the doctors had told me, I'd probably been bleeding internally for a few days. I must have not noticed it because I was A, not paying attention to my shit while I was shitting, and B, incapable of recognizing the difference in shade, like as minor as it was for a couple fucking days. I must have been bleeding into my stomach. It was bad, whatever. Ended up in the hospital for a little fucking while. They had to do all kinds of tubes and tests and shit to find out what the hell was wrong with me. Something had, some cut-ish in my stomach. Anyway, like a mix of the liquor fucking me up, the food fucking me up, and the constant vomiting for a couple of days, and then going back to drinking after that because I thought I was tough shit, you know what I mean? And I didn't think much of it. All added together into me being fucked for the better part of a week, and it was pretty disgusting. I'm talking IVs and the whole fucking shebang. Like,
I think kids, every time you go to Greece, just remember Dimitri's story.
You just think ahead. If you're going to one of the cheaper party islands, know that there's a reason that it's that cheap. And also think a little bit about the context of the country when you're going there, because it didn't really mean anything to me. But when I thought about it afterwards, like, oh yeah, it's true. They are struggling a little bit economically. You know, like, it's not that big of a shock that they would fuck a stranger over like that, because they'll do it to anybody. Greece is a beautiful place to be. Listen, it's you'll have a lot of fucking fun if you go there. I don't want to dissuade people from these trips, but it fucked me for a little bit. Yeah.
But that's a good point. When you go travel in the third world countries, you always have to be like a little bit on your toes. Just don't go always too heavy on the drinking, because some shit can get you fucked up. You know, like in China, they like make artificial rum that makes you like fucking like sleepwalk, cray, and then like I've heard people pissing out of windows.
Yeah,
they don't even remember about it.
Yeah,
you know. Yeah, not so much fun.
There's all kinds of weird shit.
Yo, I've gotten like sick twice. The first time was in the Amazon. I ate some like I just ate some piranha, I think it was. I don't know, some fucking scary looking fish. And then like it was the last day of the trip, and I was getting ready to take a plane back to where I was living, because I was living in Brazil. And like on the way there, like there was 80 exchange students, and then we started dropping like flies. Like we were in a shopping mall just waiting for our flight. All of a sudden, we're walking to the bus, and some kid's puking. Another kid's like, oh, I feel sick, blah, 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 blah. I was like, oh, this sucks. Like, people are starting to get sick. This is crazy. It was like something out of a movie. Like when you're at a party and people like just start like puking, and then the next person like looks at. So anyways, I get to the bus, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm starting to feel pretty nauseous. And like, I just sit down on the bus, and I just like try to like, you know, like chill out, you know? When you feel sick. Bro, by the time we got to the airport, I had just gone into the aisle and was like running down the aisle, and someone like gave a trash can, and I puked into the trash can. So I'm like laying on the floor in the middle of this bus, you know, like the aisle of the bus, puking in the trash can. They like put me in a wheelchair, tried to wheel me onto the plane, and I was in the plane for like 45 minutes, and then just before it took off, they like brought me back out. So like I didn't get to travel. So I ended up staying in the Amazon for like 2 days with like food poisoning, and it was really fucked.
Yeah, it's fucking.
And then this last trip that I went to Mexico, same shit. The day I was supposed to start, I drove there, so it's like a 4-day drive back. The day that I was supposed to drive back, that morning, I just started shitting like bad. I just started to feel like shit. But anyways, we had to get back. So for the next 4 days in a car, I was lying in the fetal position of the back seat, just crying little tears. Tears of pain. And then like for the next week and a half after that, I was just having like bloody diarrhea, which was extremely fun.
Yeah.
Great.
Well, technically my story about that, I was in Nepal when I was 16, and I was like living there for 3 months. But shit you not, every weekend, me and my buddies, we all had diarrhea. Food poisoning out of this world.
Yeah.
So I literally lost 10 kilograms. I have a photo to prove it. And that was like not fun because like we were not, the irrigation system in Nepal is non-existent. So literally you're taking a shit or a shit filling up and literally you can't do anything, and then you run out of toilet paper because you shit so much.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and and then I feel poor for the housekeeper, like the house mother was taking care of us. She was literally taking buckets of crap with her hand in the bucket and then putting it in another bucket and throwing it away. That was disgusting, and I will I'll never forget it. But we all knew where it was coming from. Every Friday, the orphanage kids would always eat this meat that was goat meat that was cut up on the street, and we know what it was. We just were too polite not to say no, because this is like this is all they're eating. This is like their special meal. And we were like, oh shit, I know I'm gonna get the shits later. And we're like, oh fuck this. And then, we wanted to do something weekends, but we couldn't do it because we're sitting there doing nothing. We did it for the kids. And then at one point, we're just like, the last weekend we're all together and we're like, fuck this, I cannot be bothered. We're like, yeah, we're becoming vegetarians. So literally this is what happened. I went back 4 years later and then I did the same thing, and I had the hemorrhoids too because I just got out of the hospital in one show because we're talking about the colonoscopy, and I got hemorrhoids because of it. And then when you were having food poisoning and hemorrhoids,
good combo.
This is the best combo you can have. So you're just shitting blood profusely and it hurts. It's like a bunch of little men taking fucking needles and stabbing you in the asshole.
Not like this.
So just don't travel, basically.
Yeah, just
don't travel.
Honestly,
unless you're fine with shitting blood.
Yeah. If you get sick, just kill yourself.
If you like shitting blood, travel as much as you want. If you don't, probably should just stay where you are.
But I give this to traveling. These are good stories to tell your friends so they can learn from your stupid lessons.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
There's no way to avoid it though. It's like when I went to Mexico, I lived off tacos and tequila. Like, what was I expecting?
That's what it was.
You know what I mean?
Souvlaki and fucking liquor that was not liquor, and some combination of sickness and eventual fucking blood loss and the hospitalization. Yeah.
There you go. I wish I could have been in the hospital. I was just in the backseat of a car.
No, but I got worse in the hospital. That's a part of the whole week's adventure. Because the ward for people with the stomach kind of shit that I needed to be checked out for were typically like dying and shit. They weren't the for whatever reason there. Also, I mean the money over there.
The red dot.
Yeah, it's red dots.
The funding and what have you, the staffing, it's all pretty minimal over there. So it was the conditions there were pretty terrible, and I ended up getting sicker I went to 3 hospitals total. It was a bit of a mess. There was I ended up getting more sick at the first place, and it was it was bad.
Ugh.
It was bad.
The third world country fucking hospitals, man. Honestly, our hospitals are not that much better if I'm talking about fucking quality.
This was inner city Athens, like height of fucking economic kind of crisis stuff though. So it was not there was really the crime is getting a little bit up and help is going a little bit down, and it was just a nice in between point where it was a shit show. I legit, like, you've seen, and I don't want to sound like too much of a fucking nut here, but when there was one of the first rooms, when you go to a hospital, you say you go into the emergency and stuff, right? And there's the checkup, the first kind of meeting that you have. The first meeting that you have with the doctor usually goes on, you wait amongst a whole bunch of people, then you go into these little rooms and you get your fucking thing. The equivalent of that in the inner city kind of Athens hospital was like, you've seen like war movies, like I'm talking Vietnam shit, fucking World War I, World War II shit, where there's like the war tent and everyone's just in there kind of bleeding on beds all crammed together, and there's oxygen tanks and people fucking, it was really, really, really bad. Really bad. And there was people that were cuffed to their thing because they had been shot or some shit, like at something over there. And we were all just in beds next to beds, and they're like, we gotta do a test, gotta do a little check. Yeah, and you're like, dude, there's 100 people. It was not cool. It was really, really not cool. And I ended up getting more sick a little bit into that, and I asked to be let out, and they're like, you have to sign a waiver, you're an adult, you could do this, but you have to realize that we don't think your treatment's done and this and that. I'm like, I didn't come in here with a fever and this and that, and now I'm getting more sick just because I'm around all. It was a mess. It was pretty shitty. Came out okay though. Shitty, no pun intended. Came out okay though. But yeah, it was a good week of some strange
disturbance in the force.
Yeah, no, it was fucking nutty.
Stirring your stomach, more like.
Oh, dude, there's a thing in Greece, it's so sick. Because, again, there isn't a lot of money going around and there's kind of shit. Some people, considering that the hospital's understaffed and stuff, too, there aren't enough nurses and whatever to keep tabs on everything. It's a bit of a thing over there. Families will pay gypsy women to
suck
be...
your dick.
Yes, but also to be the family. Like, so, since there aren't enough nurses that could kind of patrol things and this and that, there were... I was across... While I was in one of the rooms at a point, from a whole bunch of people, there was, some... the story's a little bit kind of vague now, but there was one particular lady that was constantly trying to fucking escape. She would wake up, she was a little bit... her brain wasn't exactly all there. She would wake up yelling and, fucking confused, and because her memory wasn't spectacular, but she was fucked in the stomach in a similar way that I was. The family, since they couldn't be there all the time, and the hospital couldn't have people there all the time, paid gypsy women to kind of be around her and shit. And so this lady's just waking up, already confused, doesn't know where the fuck she is, doesn't know, like, whatever. She's crying out for friends and family and whatever, and she's looking at these unfamiliar faces telling her in Greek, like, old lady, relax. She was, it was a fucking mess. Couldn't sleep a wink, like, it was...
Wait, this was your, like, your dorm mate?
Yeah. Well, there was like 12 of us.
Your roommate.
It was you saw where the thing was that was supposed to divide the room, and it was taken down. And there was maybe in the curtain space that would otherwise be reserved for one person, and like a chair for a family member. There were 3 beds just packed right next to each other. So there was one dude that was in some beef with his family. You get to know things a little bit because they would come and they would be yelling at him, and he's half dying there.
You speak Greek?
Yeah. Enough to get by, but not enough to really do any medical kind of conversation, so it was a bit weird, but I
don't speak enough English to do medical conversation.
Exactly.
I'm just like, shitting a lot.
Yeah.
It's discolored.
Yeah, it ain't right. Yeah. No, it was
like, yeah, we get you.
Yeah, we know where you're going through. That happened to my cousin Stephalomachus.
Yeah, we don't fucking elephant from Sesame Street or something. Fucking, yeah.
Glorious.
I don't think
no
people
glorious.
People like that's one thing that's great about traveling. You can actually have those moments to talk to people and be like, yo, just that one time I went there, so you just gotta be careful not to do the same things I did,
I was there with a couple of friends. They survived, but only one of them was drinking at around the same level as me, which was
level 10,000.
My buddy, yeah, the fucking
I'm in Greece.
Yeah, like
the vodka's only $2.
No, cheap as fuck. And they had like solicitors on like every single club and bar. They would hire people to stand outside and be like, "Come in, specials, this and that." And they poured you.
That happens quite a lot in a lot of places.
But they poured some, and you don't think much of it. You're getting a bucket that you would otherwise make sandcastles with for
of
nothing.
Vodka or whatever. What's like the alcohol for Greece?
Everything. It was Party Islands is whatever. There isn't like
but what's like the staple alcohol? Like
there's like
vodka,
Ouzo, Tsipuro, like it's
it's probably made up of olives.
No, just olive oil.
Just alcoholic olive oil.
Yeah. We have our own like moonshine
kind of.
Just get that shit in there, bathe in it.
It will literally.
They're like, you have diarrhea. Okay, you need to take this whatever. This is the medicine. It's just more alcohol.
I was sick. I was with we had met all kinds of strange fucking people there, but we had really befriended this group of Serbians, and they gave me some weird fucking medicine from over there. It was just a powder. They like poured in water.
Cocaine.
Dude, it was legit just a bag of white powder. They poured in water. You'll feel better. I'm like anything that I could get.
It's cocaine mixed with Viagra.
My friend tried to go to because there was a clinic-ish thing on the island that we were at. The days that I was throwing up in bed and feeling like trash, and I couldn't even get checked out there because the clinic was closed because it was too hot. It was actually the doctor didn't go in. It was one of the hottest days ever recorded on the island in the country. It was really, really fucking hot.
What's this island called?
This was Zakynthos.
Oh yeah, good one.
Yeah, it's pretty hot.
That's the one over there.
Around the water.
Yeah.
There's the fish. Yeah, no, it's but it was a part of it. Anyways, yeah, so a buddy of mine goes, the thing is like, maybe I'll get you a little something for the stomach. It was closed because it was too hot. They just didn't show up.
What is it called? Pedodium or pneumonium? What's it called?
Pneumonia pills.
Pneumonia. Never heard of those before. That shit saved my fucking life, bro. Like, without that, I was basically like a tube. Drink water, out it comes. Drink water, out it comes.
It kind of gets scary when you're like, your butthole just starts fucking feeling super dry and you're like feeling uncomfortable. You're like, and when you're sitting down and like it feels so wet because you're putting your underwear on and it just like feels so uncomfortable.
When I got to the bus, because I took a bus from where I was staying, which was like an hour north of Mexico City, to Laredo, Texas, and then we transferred over. Bro, when I got to the bus station, I just took my pants off, took my underwear off, threw them away, put some different ones on, because I was like, these things are never going to be worn again or seen again by anybody else. This is it. Then, to save like $10 American, which was like 150, we were thinking in pesos, so we were like 150 pesos, okay. So to save $10, we didn't take a taxi over the border, we walked over the border. So I'm carrying, I'm having diarrhea while carrying like 60 pounds of bags, walking over the border with a bunch of like people that go to like the U.S. to work and then come back at night. We're just like in a line, like a couple white guys, and like carrying bags. I look like I'm about to die. I got to the border. I have the U.S. passport, but I was like, fuck this. My friends only have Canadian passports, so I just used my Canadian passport. I was like, yeah, I'm Canadian. They let me through. They let me through easier being Canadian
than the U.S.
Than being from the U.S. But anyways, that was terrible. God awful.
When I was 16, I was doing a trek with my parents because I just came back from my last week in Nepal, and that's when I had my worst diarrhea because I got it from a hotel.
The worst.
To top it off. And then what happened was we had to take an 8-hour bus to get to this trekking site, and they didn't have enough space on the fucking seating area, this passenger area. So I had to sit on the roof with the other people. So my parents were downstairs. I was there with one of the Sherpas, and like, man, like this is when you just know when your life has gone to shit, when you can't go to the toilet.
How did I get here?
How did I get here? You're just like going through like fucking shitty ass roads and stuff like that. It's an adventure, and you're like, I really need to take a shit. Is it possible for me to go climb all the way on the back and hold my hands? I'm gonna shit off your back.
Reverse Titanic, fucking up. But
thank God, one of those times where you're like, you know, you can hold it in. You know, when you're having a diarrhea, it's really hard to hold it in for a couple hours at least. I had like 2 hours to hold it in until we got to the rest stop, and it was actually quite fine. The only thing the most memorable thing of the being on top of the roof of the bus was when people try to they were smoking and then throwing their cigarettes, and you're just trying to dodge. You're like, fuck! So you're right there, trying not to fall off the cliff or fall off onto the road. So yeah, good times.
Cool.
I think that's one of my favorite adventure stories to tell people.
What about when you build a house for a midget?
Oh yeah, that's pretty good too. That was when I went back.
You save building materials, right?
Yo, honestly, when we built, I never thought in my life I would build a house for a midget. And when I did, a little person,
whatever the audience,
like it was like this. He was like literally this small.
And one of the guys, this door frame should work.
That's good.
But it was this big. The door was this big, and the chicken he held was bigger than him almost. So he wanted to thank us. He wanted to kill a chicken, and we're like, because we're only dudes, and it was like a dude a dude building trip, and the little midget wanted to kill a chicken with the sickle that was big as his face, and a chicken that was bigger than him. What the guide was like from the hostel was like, yo, don't kill it in front of these white people. And we were like, fuck yeah, kill the chicken. And they were like, he was like, okay, no, I won't do it. And my friend comes up to me, he's like, yo, dude, that chicken's seen enough, man. Because he just survived an earthquake. So we spent the whole...
That's true, that's why the house was...
Yeah, exactly. So we made this whole bamboo, and it was like, honestly, like, for him, it would be a 4.5, you know, like, but it was the size of this half of this living room. And, oh yeah, that was a good time. We smoked, we were going through the whole town of Kathmandu on a truck with tunes going for the whole time. And we're smoking J's, and like the cops were just looking at us with their like old ass World War II rifles, and they're like, yeah, and we're like, fuck yeah, dude, you're doing your job right, and good times.
Hey, you saved a life. You gave shelter.
I don't know if I saved a life.
You gave shelter to a man
I did give him a shelter.
He lost his everything in a earthquake. And a couple of strange people.
Yeah, I don't think he had much to begin with.
Giants.
For a small guy,
it might have been an upgrade. Yeah,
it might have been an upgrade. But this is to top it off. He was an alcoholic. He was an alcoholic small person. Well, so when he was drinking beers,
I don't think you had to release that information now.
To be fair, it probably doesn't take much, right? You're a quarter of a beer in, you're on.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I was just like, wow.
But
all the women loved him.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he was like, they're like, oh, he's so cute, and he's just drinking beer on their lap.
He knows how to please me.
So yeah,
his little magic hands.
The fucking whole army shit. That is disgusting. I don't know. I might have seen something here and there, but I don't fucking know.
Oh yeah, you've seen that one online?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I saw that
I dabble, explore, you know. How else?
Facebook Live.
How do you know whether or not you're into
Live?
No. I think they have user submission sections where if you're a member, you got. I don't know if they do live.
Well, I think that's a good thing to end this little experiment on.
Yeah, it is.
Podcast 1.
Shitcast.
Ish.
1.1
or something.
Yeah, 1.2.
1.2.
Yeah. So this has been fun. What are we calling it? Do we have a name yet? Did we figure it out?
I think Between Two Ferrets is pretty cool.
So we have Between Two Ferrets. So episode 1 of Between Two Ferrets podcast. Finished.
Bah.